Hello and welcome to another edition of State of the Industry. We're talking with industry leaders about all the turmoil, challenges, opportunities that have appeared in this new market in 2022. This week we have a very special guest and made a big move recently. So how are you, Laura Brandao?
I am wonderful, Anthony. Pleasure to be here with you.
It's great seeing you. Before we can't get started without talking about your recent move. It's, you were at one place for a very, very long time and a big leader in the industry. So what'd you do?
What did I do? So yes, I made a move, and I actually think it plays into the state of our industry, because if you really think about, with all the change and all of the challenge and all of the opportunity that's happening within our industry, this is a perfect time for us to evaluate who you're partnered with and who you're dedicated to and are passionate with in order to navigate this change within the industry. So I, after 15 years, have made a change, and I am now the new Chief Growth Officer at EPM.
That's congratulations both to you and to the team at EPM, because obviously I know what you bring to an organization as a leader, and they're in for a treat. Speaking to what you just said, because it's kind of interesting. Audience for these discussions have been, anywhere from operations team members to loan officers to leaders, and I think when you talk partnership can be translated to a lot of different things. You could have your broker partnership with a wholesale lender. I think the LO has a partnership with the lender that they hang their hat with. I think the processor and the operations team member has a partnership with that organization as well. So, when we think about partnership and we think about the turmoil, and I know this is something you and I have talked about offline, it's like, it's scary out there for a lot of people. Job security is, that's this is your life, this is your family, this is your household income, and people are living in fear. So, for me, that's really tough to know people are sitting there thinking about, could we downsize, or could that happen? How do you make sure that you're communicating and making sure everybody feels safe and feels good in this environment as you go into a new organization?
It's interesting, Anthony. I actually just did the call a few hours ago. I just did this call, and I know that one of our words that we love to say is transparency. Right? Transparency. And another word that comes to mind is trust. Because at the end of the day, you cannot be in a partnership with anyone if you don't have that trust and that comfort and that transparency. I'll tell you right now, and you posted something about this a few weeks ago on social media, where you said, if you are not hearing from your leadership team, you better think about why you're not hearing from them. Yeah. Because during these times, this is a time when leaders and everyone around you needs to over communicate and make sure that total transparency is happening. If everyone is just saying la la la, everything is wonderful and everything is great and no one has to worry, you are probably mistaken. Yeah. Because right now is a time that you better be evaluating everything. You better be looking at your process flows, what's happening, where can you pick up efficiencies, how can you go deeper, how are you getting into your communities, how are you evaluating those partnerships and really diving in deep, because if you don't have a plan, you're going to be out of luck.
You are going to be out of luck in a big way. You're 100% correct. And I think that as a team member, whatever the feedback loop is in your organization, and to be honest with you, if it's loan officer, it's probably with your branch manager or whoever the sales leadership structure is. But you got to voice these things. You got to say, like, hey, it's noisy out there. We're seeing these headlines. We're seeing big companies make big cuts, and we just want to know what the thought process is. Like help us understand. Is this in the cards? Is it on the table? Help, prepare us for whatever's coming, or, tell us what is happening. And I think right now, to your point, it's like, there's going to be downsizing. That's going to be part of this cycle. It's just a very, unfortunately, really big industry. It shrank by a big amount, and there's going to be changes. But I do think you can, as a leader, navigate these waters with a clear vision and plan for your team members. And you've always done great at that. So how do you think, over this period of time, you're going to take that approach?
You know, it's funny, Anthony. These are the times that excite me. These are not the times that make me nervous at all. This is the time because when you truly know our industry and when you truly care about our industry and you listen and you pay attention and you communicate and you lock arms and hands with your partners, whether it's your internal teams, your external partners, or anyone else, that is the time when together you can accomplish great things. What happens is the people that over the last couple of years that had things falling off the trees and everything was coming to them easy, you didn't need true leaders. You didn't need people that actually strategized and came up with plans and were able to get people behind them to say, I'm ready to run into the fire. You know, I speak about this a lot, Anthony. There is only one animal in the entire wild kingdom that runs into the storm. It's a bison. And I think about that all the time because we have to be ready as leaders within this industry. We have to be ready to run into that storm, protecting our teams and telling them, I've got you. We may not have all the answers. No one has all the answers. You would be lying if you told 100%. Them you had all the answers. But having that trust and saying, I'm going to be in those trenches with you. I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm listening to you. And I'm going to make sure that I'm side by side with you to get you through this. People will follow. Yes. But it takes great leadership. And for the people that were in it only because it was easy, I encourage you to leave.
Yeah.
Leave now.
You're right. And I would say what you just described is like, you could be a good cheerleader in good times, you know, pat on the back, attaboy, the happy hour stuff. And that checked the box on leadership over the last 2 years. But when things are dicey, when things are very challenging, you cannot substitute substance for coaching or training or whatever these things are that these people, you know, think is leadership. And you see it in the organizations so quick. Like it happens like very, very quickly where you'll see a company with a couple bad moves, not addressing, you know, hey, we let go of X amount of people and not addressing it to the broader company. Right. Like if you got a couple thousand employees and you lay off 10% of those people and the 90% don't know why or what's going on, you just leave it out there for everybody to live in fear. And that's disruptive to your client experience. It's disruptive to the health of your team members. It's negative energy. So I think this is going to be a different cycle than we've ever seen before. I think it's going to have challenges that was not the same challenges in 2017, 2018. And it'll be interesting just to see how these leaders approach their companies and communication. Question for you is, you know, from a sales perspective, you know, loan officers, you've dealt with, you know, you've had loan officers, you've had account executives. So both big arms of sales in our business, you know, they've got a lot of, you know, they're hearing a lot of things. What do you recommend to them as far as like staying positive, staying focused and focusing on things that really truly matter right now?
I actually, I'm so happy that you asked this question because as you were speaking, I was really thinking about mindset. I was really thinking about the mindset because, of course, as a leader, you have to make sure that you keep people in the right headspace. Yes. You have to make sure that you're educating them and you're not, listen, no one should have their head in the sand. You better get your head out of the sand and you better be communicating and telling them real life of what's happening. But there's a difference between communicating what's happening and fear mongering. There is a completely difference here. So we need to make sure as loan officers, as account executives, we have to stop with the excuses. They're just excuses. Anybody can pull up any article and go, well, see, this is why my numbers are down. Well, guess what? Outworking people will always trump talent. So right now, if your numbers are down, well, then you better get to work and you better do double whatever you are doing and stop with the fear mongering and the excuses because that's what they are. Excuses.
You're right. And I would say what I love about this market is this is where the stars are born. This isn't where like, you know, people that are talking about 2021 stats matter. it's all about activities. So the barrier to entry, like in a refi market, it comes down to how big is your database. At the end of the day, if you did 100 million last year or 100 million a year for the last 3 years in a refi market, you're going to end up really growing your business because you have your purchase business, but then you have all the customers from the past couple of years to refi. So that's the game then. But a market like this, it's all about how many appointments are you going on?
Yes.
How many people are you talking to? How many referrals did you generate from customers last month? Like, it's all about the activities. How many times did you post on social media? It's like it's top of mind. So like the barrier to entry to being a really good loan options market has nothing to do with history. It has everything to do with just doing what's required to be successful. And it's applicable to all of us, account executive, loan officer, recruiters. Like, we all have to do that to win. I would say from an organizational...
Anthony, think about it. What have we noticed just in the last 6 weeks? Haven't you noticed the activity has dropped? Haven't you seen it?
It is. I can tell you right now, on my own social media, like, I've seen the stats go through the roof, because when nobody's talking and you're speaking, you have a bigger stage.
That's exactly right. So really,
and there's an opportunity.
Take a note from that. Just get to work.
Yes.
Stop with the fear mongering of coming up, because if you sit there and you constantly tell yourself there's no business, there's no inventory, there's nobody for me to call, the minute you tell yourself that, guess what? You're correct. There is no business out there. But
it's
if
a
you
self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's correct. Get busy. Get to it. You have this. We know what to do. Go back to basics.
100%. And to be honest with you, it's that easy. But the problem is, somebody told me once, whatever the length of time that it took you to form a habit is the exact length of time it takes for you to break the habit. Okay. So let's just say, the pandemic was real. I mean, we have people locked in their homes for a year and a half, 2 years. So they weren't going to closings. They weren't going to in-person appointments. They weren't having the networking events. Like, these are the things, like that's why you go to the conferences and do that stuff. Like, that's where the magic happens is in-person meetings. So, you got 2 years not doing it. So like, if you want to change, it can't be like, hey, I'm going to post on social media one time. You got to like really rip the Band-Aid off and run into this thing. And obviously you're somebody that's led on this in a big, big way. So let's talk about, from a standpoint of, you're going to an organization in a challenging time. So that's going to present the same challenges that everybody has in the industry. What's the opportunity as an organization from a culture perspective, from a, team perspective to really, bring people together around whatever the vision is? Obviously APM's going to have vision, but like, how do you rally the troops and use this as an opportunity to do that?
Yeah, that's the fun part, right? That's the fun part of getting people to be able to see what that vision is and getting them on board as to where their particular role plays into the vision. I think that's the most important component of it, Anthony, because so many times if you just say, hey, we're going to become this, well, people go, I'm the receptionist. What am I? That's great. That's great that you're going to become that. How does that affect me?
Yeah.
But see, no, it does affect, because that person, that first person that answers that phone, if that client experience is not good, everything else just goes downhill. So I think the biggest opportunity we have is that it's individualized to, and I love OKRs. OKRs, objectives and key results, are something that I am very passionate about, because if you can take each individual within the organization and say, these are your top 5 things. These 5 things are how you integrate into where our vision is for the overall organization. So if you're the receptionist, these are the things I need you to do. Every time you answer the phone, you should be energetic and you should have an upbeat tone. You should make sure that you say this, because it's important that every person that calls remembers exactly what you said, because that's our brand. That's going to be part of the brand. So you're going to, then you want to make sure if you're transferring, don't just transfer them. Make sure the person picks up. And if they don't, like, have those 5 things, and every role within the organization should have their 5 things, whether it's an underwriter, a processor, an account executive, a loan officer. So every person needs to know how what they're doing ties into the overall vision. Otherwise, they just can't see the vision. No matter how many happy, joy meetings you have with them, they have to know how it personally affects them.
That you are like, I know for like, if you're in this industry, unfortunately, like a 90% of the bankers and the people that are leading companies probably think you're batshit crazy right now. But like, I think you're like the great companies, the companies that have been thriving, the things that you just discussed, that's what they do well. Like it's not beneath them to care
Correct.
about what the receptionist does. It's not beneath them to think about the most minor client experience things. It's funny, like today we have one of our loan officers visiting from out of state, and he said to me, we had lunch, he said, I just want to let you know, I got to the office this morning, and in our building, there's a security guard that it's a high rise that you have to go through. There's a security guard. When I told him I was coming to UMortgage, they said, that's a great company. Everybody's happy there. And like, to me, it's like, in the back of my head, I know that we already have the security guard as part of our client experience. Like we drop off cookies, we drop off things for them. Like we care about them because we know people are going to interact with them. But that's a reflection that we've been doing our job well by having that relationship with those security guards. So they say that when they come in, because we've actually earned that trust. They believe in us. And I think it's like those are the little things that go a long, long way. And cumulatively, if everybody in the organization has those OKRs that you talked about, it's like, man, imagine what you can accomplish. So when you're coming into a new situation after 15 years of building one company with OKRs, where do you get started? Like, do you just get started or is it, how do you go about it?
So it's actually funny. So in the beginning, my very first week, I kind of looked at it in 2 levels. One was a high level, right? So you're coming in as an executive. So you're starting at looking at things from here. But that's not really where you get the value, Anthony. You know that you get the value from the bottom up, right?
Yeah.
Not from the top down. So what we did is we had a company-wide meeting introducing me. And I got on this Zoom call with the entire company. And I just said why I chose them. Because honestly, Anthony, after 15 years of building a company and having that as my repertoire, well, they need to understand what I saw in them for me to be part of that team.
Yep.
So I spoke about how amazing what a great job they've done at this point, and then where I'm going to take them and how each and every individual person is going to play into that vision. So I think it's important that you start with the heart. Yeah. People need to understand there's a selection process that happens. And I wasn't just magically placed there. It was a decision that was a very long decision. And it was because I saw something that had an opportunity to align with the way I think and the way I feel about serving this industry.
That's awesome.
Start with there. Awesome. And it worked really great. It worked really great because now they feel me. Like people need to feel you. Whether you're a loan officer, an underwriter, what we do, Anthony, in this industry, we change lives. We change lives. And regardless of what's going on, we all have the ability to make a difference in who we touch. Don't lose sight of that. Don't allow the fear of the unknown, because that's what it is. Well, our fear is just because we don't know what's going to happen. People feel out of control. That's the reason why there's a such thing as fear. When you simplify it and you come down to the fact that remember why you're here.
Yep.
Remember the reason why you came here and why you continue to be here. And when you do that and you stick together, you can get through anything that's coming your way. I promise you. There's opportunities. There's opportunities for growth right now. There's opportunities for you to lean into new products. There's opportunities for you to get better. Every single one of us, every single day has an opportunity to get better. This is not a backwards. There's no going backwards. We're only forward, and we're only going to barrel through and make changes of what's happening. And remember, the number one skill for success. Number one skill for success, adaptability.
Yeah.
The people that succeed through anything is because they can adapt.
You're right. You are 100% right. And I would even, I'll just add on to the adaptability. It's the people that understand chaos and understand problems that can make, like, when these market cycles happen, for some people it's like crippling. They can't make a decision.
Right.
And they watch, they're on social media, they're seeing what other people are doing, but they're not making decisions. And like, to me, like in Q1, we had our goal for every quarter, as you know, is like to grow by 50% a quarter. You know, we want to increase our lock volume every quarter by 50%, which is aggressive, period.
Aggressive.
In a market that contracted by 40% year over year in the first quarter, like super aggressive. But my mindset is like, it all comes down to LO headcount. If you add enough LOs, you'll get that to that 50% number. Well, we didn't account mid-quarter. We see like, hey, listen, what's going on here? You know, our LOs volumes are down. We might be adding new LOs, but we didn't account for the fact that they were going to be down 40%.
Yeah.
So we intensified the recruiting efforts. We did more outreach, and it goes to everything we do. That's just, you know, that's recruiting. But when you think about loan off, same thing. It's like, oh, you talked to 5 realtors a day. Well, you might have been able to talk to 5 realtors a day in 2021 and get your 10 deals a month. Now you got to talk to 20. And you know, to me, if you're an accounting secretary, oh, you talk to 3 mortgage brokers a day. Now you got to talk to 25 of them. Like you got to understand that there's still $700 billion in loans were done in the first quarter. Like, there's still a lot of business out there. There's a lot of business out there. So, you know, it's just that mindset, but to be truthful, it all starts at the top. When the leader of the organization is visible, is positive, and is leading the organization from the front, and is also empathetic to the issues that people are having, then, you know, then the next layer down cascades that down, and everybody just kind of like lives off of it. But, you know, to your point, communication, keep, you know, your key performance metrics, starting from a place of team and vision. And then at the end of the day, like the next big one that I want to ask you about is, you know, as you look at it, how do you make sure that you set a standard and expectations that everybody understand, like, this is who we are, this is our standard, and we want everybody here to be here, but you got to meet the standard, and we hold ourselves accountable to it, but you got to be held accountable to it as well. So how do you do that in a positive way that builds, you know, the culture of success?
But I think that has to be done in a positive way. There's no other way to do it, because if you really think about it, people should honestly, your team will rat out the people that don't fit it. It doesn't even have to come from an executive or leadership level, because you should have a team that is so protective of that experience and that environment that they literally are like, hey, Jane over there, she's not answering the phone the right way. Or Jane or Bob over there, he isn't following up or meeting the SLAs or providing that additional service. And so it needs to be a culture where people are so protective of that brand and so protective of the organization and the vision, ensuring that we get to where we're saying we're going to be, that when the outliers happen, they fall away because those people don't feel they fit in anymore. See, it works both ways, Anthony. For someone like us that thinks a certain way, when we're in an environment that doesn't meet that, it's uncomfortable for us.
Yes.
Because we're so passionate about making sure that everyone's taken care of and making sure that the communication is great and the experience is great. So when we're somewhere that doesn't fit, it's uncomfortable for us.
Yep.
Well, same thing the other way. When you're at an organization where the client experience is everything and the communication is vital and we care about our clients and our team members, the people that don't fit into that, they know they don't fit.
You're right. You're right. I'll tell you what, we have a couple bad reviews on like Indeed or whatever from past employees. And, everybody cares about reputation. Everybody cares about those things. And I've had to, tell our team, like, listen, at the end of the day, here's the thing: some people are not going to fit in a culture where like the expectation is this. But my thing is this: is like we're in the commodity business. Mortgages is a commodity, and if you're not exceptional at client experience, and your standard for exceptional isn't at the highest level, you're not gonna be around. This business is brutal. You will not survive. So if that means that we get a bad review because somebody didn't jive with that, I'm sorry, but like that's the cost of doing business. But I love what you said there. I've got one more question for you. You talked about 15 years in one place. It's hard. It's hard to, some people never leave, never take a risk. And one thing I really loved about, Brian View, he was at Flagstar for 10 years and he was the head of, TPO. So he was high up there. And when he left and he went to, do FinLocker, he said to me, he's like, I've been watching other people bet on themselves, and go out and try something new and like change it up. And he's like, I just needed to feel that again. Like, I had mastered my thing there and we were doing great, but I wanted to challenge myself. And I kind of see like what you're doing right now is like you said, hey, I mastered this, but I want to do something bigger.
Yes. So I recognized I'm a builder. I absolutely love building things, building companies, building organizations, building whatever, right? I get a thrill out of that. I'm very passionate about taking things from one level and reaching higher levels. You're correct, Anthony. I looked at the opportunity to serve more. I looked at the opportunity to take something to a level that I have goals, of course. I have dreams that before I leave this wonderful industry that I've served, I want to achieve a certain level that I wasn't able to get to at my previous company. I accomplished great things and I love everyone there. But I personally need to continue to grow, because if you're not progressing and you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah, I agree.
And I feel that you should never, no one should be complacent in what they do, whether it's challenging yourself to get licensed in another state and open up another area, or learn some new products, or become an expert, or be part of an organization and challenge yourself to go deep into your community. Whatever it is, whatever that change is for you, make those challenges. Get out of your comfort zone. And I love what you just said. Bet on yourself. Yes. Because I promise you, if there's anybody I'm going to bet on, it's going to be me, because I know that no one's going to outwork me and no one's going to have more passion or energy towards anything else. So I decided that it was time. And I told you, I'm a bison. The biggest storm, bring the biggest storm at me, because I'll take it on and I'll find my way through it. And to everyone out there, guys, you've got this. You have the knowledge. You know what you're doing. Don't get overtaken by fear. Challenge yourself every day. Be part of a community that supports you. Don't listen to the people be bitching and complaining. Yep. Don't worry about them. Those aren't the people you want to be. Be with the people innovating, the people that are trying new things. You're going to have to work harder. Isn't that why we're in this business? Isn't that part of what we do? You got this.
I love it. You're 100%. That's exactly the way I want to leave this. Is a lot of doom and gloom out there. You're leading with positivity, and that's exactly what everybody needs. So thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I hope this was valuable to everybody that has an opportunity to watch it. I got a lot out of it. So thank you, Laura, and keep leading, and we appreciate you.